Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Mr. Long Island's Search for Truth and Beauty. My name is Michael Watt, a.k.a. Mr. Long Island, and this week our guest is Blake Cornell. Blake,
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Blake is with Integra Security.
Correct.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Our goal here this afternoon is to scare the crap out of the people watching this conversation, but it ties in nicely with the premise of the show, the search for truth and beauty. We discuss issues that need to be discussed to ensure Long Island's vitality and also the beauty. There's so many great things about Long Island that we need to spotlight some of the wonderful things about living on Long Island. So Blake, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And but first, as we do every week, we want to know your favorite pizza place. And the premise is, it's the kind of place where if you had people coming in from out of town and you really wanted to impress them with the pizza, where would you take them? And the reason we ask is, as diverse as Long Island is, 126 different towns, school districts, whatever, the one thing that every town in Long Island has in common is a pizza place. And Long Islanders have strong opinions about pizza. We have about a dozen different recommendations. So your favorite pizza place on Long Island?
Well, without question, that would have to be Eddie's Pizza in New Hyde Park.
Okay.
They have a really good bar pie. Apparently, they're accredited to creating the bar pie.
On Long Island, the bar pie was invented.
Apparently. I could not confirm or deny, but that's the rumor.
Now, I wasn't aware of that, and some very interesting things have been invented on Long Island. The credit card was invented on Long Island. The handheld scanner was invented on Long Island. Ball bearings invented on Long Island.
Velcro?
And the water ski. Now, Velcro I didn't know.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Apparently.
All right, remember, I'm Mr. Long Island, not you, so don't be embarrassing me. We'll have to find out more about that.
Okay.
Let's talk about Integra Security, though.
Sure.
What do you do? There was an article in the Long Island Business News a couple of weeks ago. It started off, Blake Cornell robs banks for a living.
Yeah.
Could you explain that to us, please?
Sure. So basically, there's a lot of risk, especially for financial institutions. So
Okay.
and someone like myself, an institution like Integra Security, would go in and basically emulate what an attacker does.
Okay.
Except us being the good.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
when you say an attack, now you're talking about
Computer hacking.
network, computer hacking.
Yeah,
Okay.
try to break into the systems to
And the
probe for
risk
weaknesses.
is, every banking, every financial institution has very sensitive, very
Credit cards,
personal
social
information.
security numbers, account balances.
So when you say they have a risk, it's the value. I mean, in the old days, you put the money in the safe and you had a big ass door on the safe, and that was it. Now the information is probably more valuable than the money in the safe.
and the safe is also in everyone's home.
Okay.
So instead of a safe being in a physical location, someone from any country, Romania, Russia, China, the United States even, they can access the combination lock from their living room.
That's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's almost, to use that safe analogy, again, in the old days, the safe was on the physical premises of the bank. The database of information that a bank has, if you're doing online banking or if you have a computer with a network, you actually have a pathway potential access to that.
Yeah.
So tell us again about what you do then.
So basically, we emulate an attacker. We find vulnerabilities, and us being the good guys, we report to the institution that has hired us of the vulnerabilities and some light remediation strategies and how to fix them to secure their infrastructure, to make it harder for an attacker to succeed.
Do you you do this for multiple clients? Do you see trends? Do you see, like, if you catch one thing here, do you reach out to the other clients over here and say,
Sometimes,
hey,
yeah. With the Heartbleed vulnerability, it's really critical to make sure everyone knows to update, and we release some tools through our website that can check for that. So if you're concerned or want to validate if you're vulnerable or not, you can run this tool and it'll tell you nearly instantly if you are.
And it doesn't necessarily just have to be banks. It's any financial or any business that has sensitive information that they wouldn't necessarily want to get out to the public.
Intellectual property, personal information. Nearly every institution. We really try to cater to provide special services for the SMB market.
Okay.
Because they're
SMB
really
is what?
small, medium business.
Okay.
So they're really left behind, unfortunately. And a lot of what we're doing to help automate and bring these capabilities at a lower cost to these types of institutions to be able to ensure that they have the ability to sleep well at night.
Okay. And like we're seeing with Target last Christmas season, one violation, for lack of a better term, could really be detrimental to a business.
Yeah.
Now, a Target can absorb that hit, although they are paying a price. a smaller business, particularly on Long Island, may not be so lucky.
Yeah, it could really hurt. It could put them out of business. It's a scary proposition.
Okay, and by bringing in a company like Integris, they're kind of staying in the loop and being maybe more proactive. I mean, it's a defensive mechanism just to have you look at it, but by engaging with a firm like yours, they become a little more proactive. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah. And what we do is offensive capabilities. Okay. And we also assist in the rollout of defensive capabilities.
Okay.
But typically our bread and butter, our primary services are on the attacking side.
Well, tell me a little bit about that.
So an example, say, just pick a website. I don't want to name any targets, no pun intended.
Oh boy. Well, let's say the Daily Blue.
The Daily Blue, perfect.
Okay.
So there's a web application running on a server.
Okay.
I actually already checked downstairs, showed some of the people some of the tools that you work with. Your server, your application runs on a shared system.
Okay.
So if I can't break into your website through a known or unknown vulnerability, I could attack one of the other websites on the same system, even though you're the target.
Okay.
So I could breach someone who's sitting on the same application stack, for lack of a better phrase, and then target you.
So the more, unless your database is an island unto itself, anytime you're connected to anybody else's database or there's any
shared
kind of shared infrastructure, and you almost can't have a network that doesn't have shared infrastructure. So
it's costly too. People talk about the cloud. It's a big a buzzword.
Right.
But there's public cloud, there's private cloud. You can have a private system, no problem. It just costs more, yeah.
But if you're doing business, you're interacting with people. If you're sending emails to others, my point was there's no such thing as an isolated computer system. You have to be connected to the outside world, and the minute you make that connection, you have a vulnerability.
Yeah. Well, there's the old adage, the story of the most secure system is the one that's turned off.
Okay.
But apparently that's not true. You need to bury it in a hole and surround it with shock sensors attached to explosives, and then you have a chance for it to remain
that's the
secure.
ultimate security.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing battle, wouldn't you say?
Daily.
Who are these people that, like the one thing that always amazed me about viruses, why would somebody, I mean, other than trying to steal information, why would somebody go to the trouble of just creating a virus just to kind of mess with computer systems?
For fun or profit.
Okay.
So basically, some of the lower tiered attacks are construed by the younger individuals, those who do it for fun. The more strategic, as they call it, the advanced persistent threat, state actors, organized crime, the like.
Okay.
They're pretty smart and they're really talented. And if they want to get into something, more than likely, with enough time and enough effort, they will get in.
So you have people that create havoc just for the giggles, and there's a scorecard among them. How much havoc can you create? And after a while, they say, well, why am I just creating it for the giggles? Why don't I go after it for money?
Steal some credit cards,
right.
And from there, steal state secrets. There's an echelon. There's a ramp where, the Lockheed Martins of the world, the defense contractors, they're not really being hit by these lower-tiered attackers. They're getting hit by disorganized crime and the foreign state sponsors.
Let's go back to the SMBs, the small, small...
SMB, small, medium business.
Okay, because that's the crux of the Long Island market. And obviously that's what you hear, because those are the people that maybe think, well, I'm just a small business. Why would somebody go after me? Or, I only have a couple of thousand accounts. What should they be concerned about, or what should they do to protect themselves and their customers?
They should be concerned of the unknown. Because if you don't know, you can't help yourself. And the least you could do is, like I said previously, shameless plug, there is a portal on the Integra Security website that you can sign up for free, and we've enabled and allowed the ability to run certain types of tools.
Okay.
And these are security tools that attackers would use that a small business owner can simply log in, put in the proper information, and it'll spit out a report. And beyond that, consultation services, it's more costly than free.
Let's talk about small business owners. You know, they wear a lot of hats. They have to take care of a lot of different things, which provide the initial resistance to the internet. I mean, I worked for an internet company in the late 90s, and I used to start I would talk about the internet, what's coming, and I would talk to business groups, and I'd say, how many people here are internet savvy? And a couple of people put their hand up. How many people here aren't internet savvy? And a couple of people put their hand up. And I'd say, for comical purposes, I'd say, how many people here wish the internet would go away? And every time I did that, all the hands went up, because it was one more thing for them to worry about without seeing what the benefit was. And I had the advantage of seeing what that benefit was, because to me it was, I mean, to be able to have your goods on sale 24/7, and you start your workday with 100 orders from overnight from all around the country. But I saw that they didn't see that. All they saw was one more thing for them to worry about. How does Integris work with the small business so that it's maybe one less thing to worry about? And how do you work with a small business owner who maybe isn't that tech savvy?
So our typical clients, we interact with technical teams for the most part for larger institutions. But for SMB markets, we really bring it down to a point where you don't need to know a lot of the technical details. We write it out in plain English as far as the remediation strategy.
Okay.
We write a lot of software. These tools help automate manual processes. So as far as us being able to lower the bar as far as cost to enable a small, medium business owner to have the similar results to a more expensive type of consultation.
Okay.
We really bring it down to a level where it's possible for them to afford it.
And we're not that far away from actually it being required. As you
Depending on your industry, it already is.
Okay.
Like the financial industry, depending upon the number of transactions per year, you have to do certain things. If you deal with grants or government contracts, you have to oblige by certain certifications. If you're in healthcare, you have to deal with HIPAA. There's an alphabet soup of requirements. But for the most part, for an SMB, there's nothing requiring you to do it unless you're looking for business in those categories.
Is that something you can help them with, though?
Yes.
If you know by industry, okay, if you want to do this, you got to do that.
Yep.
And it's interesting because, like I said, being there in the early stages of the internet, I remember building a site for a client, and they were getting all these orders in. And I forget how, but all of a sudden I had access to the back end of it, and I'm looking at hundreds of credit card numbers with the names, and I was like, wow, this isn't good. And the credit card industry stepped up and started requiring us
that you don't store it.
Correct. And all those, again, I'm going back about 15 years, and that was, I think, the turning point, people getting more comfortable with the internet. So, but everything gets ratcheted up, and now it seems as these invasions get more sophisticated, that no matter what size business you have to be protected.
Yeah.
In a proactive way.
Yeah. I use the term soft targets.
Okay.
For example, when Target was attacked,
right,
and they were breached, go figure, Target was a target. Those attackers likely couldn't get directly into the financial institutions, so they hit a soft target.
Okay.
Which was Target, because they are the soft underbelly, to quote the article you referenced, of the financial industry. They still have the information. They're the processee, not the processor. And at that point, they still got the same data they needed at a lower threshold of difficulty.
So they literally look for the weakest link in that chain.
Why would you spend more time and effort to get the same result?
Right. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this is your area of expertise. If it isn't, we'll skip over it. But I've read that if in Europe, the credit cards have a chip on them.
PIN, yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk about that? Or?
So that it wouldn't have helped prevent the Target breach because it was something that was called a memory scraping attack.
Okay.
Where as long as it's in the RAM, the random access memory of the computer, they were able to get the data. Unless it was a separate device that they couldn't have broken into, they wouldn't have solved anything. But ironically, in the last 7 to 10 days or so, it was released on how to completely bypass chip and PIN.
Really?
Yeah. And basically, you have to fool the reader into believing that there was no chip and pin entry device, and it would default back to what America uses, just the mag stripe, the magnetic stripe device.
And why doesn't America step up and go to a chip and pin or more?
The cost.
The cost.
You'd have to replace all the readers on all the ATM machines, all the point of sale systems. You'd have to replace every card. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
So for now, the cost of securing this thing.
It's easier just to have insurance.
Okay. And that was the initial resistance until they realized how much was at stake. And it's, okay, let's start with the SSLs and all that. Because to say the cost of implementing the changes was less than the potential damage.
Yeah.
So I guess until we get to that point, or somebody's working, I'm sure, something more sophisticated than the chip and pin. But that's different than what you do.
I deal with all types of technologies. It really
Okay.
doesn't matter the specificities of it. With enough research, you could attack anything.
Do you have what you would refer to as a typical client, or is it really across the board, or what?
If I had to pick a typical client, it would be financial, because they're
Okay.
required to.
Right.
But we have clients in numerous industries.
Is there any industry or are there any kinds of businesses that aren't worried but should be?
The small and medium business market.
Okay.
You know, it's something that you push to the side like a stack of paper on your desk, but one day it may be too late.
So if you have a business that has sensitive information that if it ever got out could
To
potentially
competitors,
yeah.
to
Well, that's a great
make your
point.
institution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot, more than you would expect.
The competitors try to break in now. All they
Corporate
know.
espionage, yeah.
Okay. Do you see any trends in that area, or is there anything that you're seeing that's
Yeah.
concerning you?
People are knowing to stop asking me to do that for them. Just saying. That's the trend.
People.
Approach?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you get labeled a computer hacker, you know, some interesting characters come out of the woodwork asking you for help.
So you got to be very judicious about who you talk to.
And if my ethics weren't so aligned,
Okay.
you know, we'd be having a different conversation.
That's that never occurred to me. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. So it's almost like you're in you're in the alarm business, or you're a professional cat burglar, and you can either be hired by homeowners or business owners to show you how easy it is to break into the business, or you can be
can actually
hired by
break it
other
in,
cat
yeah.
burglars. So
It's
you got
two different hats. One's white, one is black.
and you have to be very careful about who's hiring you and what you're sharing with them.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost have to be as cautious.
Turn down work if
Right.
it doesn't smell right.
And have you had to do that?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a little scary.
Yeah.
You know, how concerned? You know, we all know about the NSA and all these other things. How concerned, or is it a concern, like the amount of information that's out there and quote unquote government access to that?
It amazes me how freely people just give away their thoughts and their
Okay.
personal information. But to go back to the capabilities discussion of what the Five Eyes, the NSA, Canada, UK, New Zealand, and the other one's beyond me at this point. But their capabilities are, if they want to find you, they want to get you, they're going to find you, they're going to get you. So you can either participate or not worry about it. Not participate or not worry about it.
Wow. My goal is to live a life that's fascinating enough to make somebody want to actually read what I do.
Well, you know, now that everyone knows you know me.
Well, yeah, there is that, but I'm perfectly willing to take that risk.
Well, I appreciate that.
Somebody once told me, and you can tell me whether or not they're on board or not, or how close. Somebody once shared with me that there's a theory out there that the CIA indirectly provided the seed money to start Google.
I heard that as well, but most of what, specifically for this example, Central Intelligence Agency does, they actually have a public wing for funding where they have companies listed in a portfolio. It's called InQtel, INQTEL.
Okay.
They're based out of Silicon Valley, and they fund companies, usually not seed funding, you know, Series A or B, where they're all software, they're all technology, and a lot of them are security players. So if you look at their portfolio page, you can kind of see a picture of where the technology is heading. You know, so for lack of a better phrase, I can't comment for Facebook directly, but they've funded several hundred companies.
Wow. So we're just at the scratching the surface in terms
The
of
litmus of the cup.
where technology is taking us,
Yeah.
and it's just going to get more and more complicated. But if you're not in it, you're
You're
out.
gonna be left, yeah.
Yeah, and you're not going to be able to survive as a business.
You know, I think 10 years ago, it was the first time I heard it, but a business not on the internet isn't in business.
Yeah,
And that's more true today.
you know, it's funny, and again, having been around long enough, I remember conducting business without the internet, and for the life of me, I don't know how the hell we did it. So, is there anything else we wanted to cover that we didn't cover? Because I know you had a few things.
Well, you know, the security conversation it's a large, broad topic. So as far as to narrow it down for the sake of your viewers and the like, you know, really you have to be proactive. You need to secure your environment and your applications to a point where it's as difficult as possible. There's a cost return on investment for risk ratio, and if you haven't actually had your system tested and you believe you haven't been breached, then I beg to differ. You probably just don't know you've been attacked and breached.
And if you haven't, it's just a matter of time before you are. So if you
yeah.
have a network system in your business, if
A
you
custom application as well, if you write your own software,
Okay.
you're a big target.
But if you have information, you really should be exploring, if you're not doing it already, how to make sure that's not only secure, but secure in a proactive way.
Yep.
So that you're not
Absolutely.
getting any surprises. The website again
is
is
Integra Security,
Integris.
INTEGRIS security.com.
Okay, and this is Blake Cornell, or is Chief Technology Officer of Integra Security and IntegraSecurity.com. Blake, it's been fascinating.
It's my pleasure.
A little bit scary, but you know what? It's stuff we need to know. It's a truth we need
Absolutely.
to know. And if you're going to stay in business on Long Island or anywhere, you really need to make sure that your information is secure. So thank you very much for walking us through that and
My pleasure.
keeping it as simple as possible for us Luddites. I think that's great. Thank you very
Once
much.
again, my pleasure.
This has been another episode of Mr. Long Island's Search for Truth and Beauty. Our guest today was Blake Cornell, a Chief Technology Officer of Integra Security. My name is Michael Watt, a.k.a. Mr. Long Island. Thank you very much.